for hot chocolate, skiing, and getting cozy indoors. Welcome to winter. I'm Chief Meteorologist Mike Everett. We're here to help you understand what to expect weather-wise this winter. We've also got some tips to help you get through the cold and dark over the next few months. Let's jump right in. You've probably heard the term La Niña on air. Basically, it means cold and wet weather is likely on the way. But as King 5 meteorologist Leah Pizzetti explains, La Niña isn't a guarantee on the forecast.
Each year, scientists look at ocean temperatures thousands of miles away from the Pacific Northwest that impact weather worldwide. These patterns can prompt an El Niño or La Niña season, trends which can last anywhere from about 9 months to multiple years.
Because water holds so much heat than air, that has consequences all across the globe for temperatures and other weather effects.
Along the equator, trade winds push water east and west. During an El Niño pattern, the trade winds weaken and warm water stays east, collecting off the coast of Peru. This impacts the jet stream, which is essentially a pathway for storms to move over the United States. The warm water pushes the jet stream south, driving storms into the southwest parts of the country, but keeping the northwest warmer and typically drier. La Niña is the opposite. Trade winds along the equator strengthen, pushing warm ocean water away from Peru to be replaced by cold water. This pushes the jet stream more north, keeping the southwest more dry and the northwest more cool and possibly more wet. While none of this is a guarantee, Washington State climatologist Guillaume Moget says it's our best guess at a general trend, giving an idea of what could happen in the winter.
What the La Niña is going to do is going to tilt the odds, right? So that means the odds are tilted towards cooler than normal conditions.
Since 1954, there have been 25 La Niña patterns, and just 7 of those were considered strong. Within those 25 La Niña winters, 14 brought below normal temperatures, with the average temperature nearly 2 degrees cooler than normal. Precipitation had more variability, with a split of about half above and half below normal. Seattle's snow totals have historically been higher than average during La Niña winters. Normal is about 5 inches, but the 25 La Niña winters averaged 11.5 inches. This potentially good news as the Northwest comes out of a warmer and drier weather pattern.
The other thing that we could look for, and that's kind of interesting, is that we're going from an El Niño to a La Niña. So there's a real contrast between last year and this coming year, right? It's going from warmer to cooler.
What does a La Niña actually mean practically for us this winter? Well, meteorologist Adam Claybon takes a look at your long-range forecast for the Pacific Northwest region.
La Niña, we know that means that there's a better chance of things being cooler and wetter than normal. But I wanted to go over a few things, plus talk about what's happening right now, where you can see right here across the equatorial Pacific where we do have those blue colors indicating where conditions are cooler than normal for those sea surface temperatures, which means we're in La Niña conditions right now. And that will promote higher chances, the key words, higher chances of it being colder and wetter than normal here across the Pacific Northwest. Another thing I wanted to point out, what's happening here along the west coast of North America. And you see the blues there. Cooler than normal sea surface temperatures, and that's when we have a negative PDO phase. PDO really indicating that Pacific Decadal Oscillation. And when it is cooler than normal, we have higher chances again of things being cooler than normal here across the Pacific Northwest. But another key factor too, slightly near or maybe even below normal when it comes to our precipitation. So that might play a little bit of a role in what we're expecting for the upcoming winter season. But overall, La Niña is going to be the big game in this all, and it's going to promote a highly amplified jet stream where you have these big ridges and also have these big troughs. And with the big troughs, cooler air coming in from the north out of Canada and from the North Pole where we have that polar vortex. And when the polar vortex is disrupted, it allows even more of that cold air to work its way farther south. And that could include us here down across Washington State and across our Cascades, where we can promote more of that snowfall across the mountains and maybe even some here in the lowlands too. Another thing I wanted to point out, that high pressure system, sometimes that moves overhead and it promotes quieter weather. So there will be lulls throughout the season of maybe seeing some quieter weather at times. But the overall theme is that we're expecting things to be cooler than normal here across our part of the U.S., as well as wetter than normal as well. And for those of you who are big snow lovers, get ready. Those of you who are skiers and snowboarders, get the gear ready to get out to the slopes.
I'm a big snow lover. Now, Seattle isn't known for getting a lot of snow. In fact, over the last 30 years, Seattle has recorded on average less than 6 inches per year. But we have gotten some big storms. Over the last 3 decades, 2019 and 2021 were our biggest snow years on record. About 21 inches of snow fell over the course of the year. You may remember the 2019 storms. Several systems rolled through the region, blanketing Puget Sound with over 17 inches of snow in 4 days. School districts canceled classes for a week, and businesses were buried under snow for days as cities struggled to keep up with plowing. Going further back in time, our biggest snowstorm since record keeping began was in 1950. 20 inches of snow fell on January 13th. 2 weeks later, another 10 inches fell, making it Seattle's third biggest snowstorm on record. The number 2 spot goes to a 1969 storm where nearly 15 inches fell. A reminder, just because it's a La Niña year doesn't mean we're guaranteed a snowstorm. And the year of 2019 storm was actually an El Nino year, which has greater chances of warm and dry weather. When you're tracking the forecast with King 5 this winter, you'll oftentimes hear us talk about something called snow levels. The snow level is the elevation where rain turns to snow. So if we say the snow level is at 3,000 feet, that means that's above 3,000 feet of elevation. You can expect snow when precipitation is moving through. This is different than the freezing level, which is the altitude where temperatures are freezing. Because snow doesn't immediately melt when it passes through warmer air, the snow level can actually be as much as 2,000 feet below the freezing level. Here are a couple of key elevation points to keep in mind when we're talking about snow levels. In the mountains, Snoqualmie Pass is about 3,000 feet and Stevens Pass is at about 4,000 feet. Down in the lowlands, downtown Seattle is, you guessed it, just above sea level, whereas Queen Anne Hill is at about 500 feet. As for snow in the city, you either love it or you hate it. Regardless of how you feel, there's no denying how beautiful, calm, and peaceful the snow can make the city seem. Those winter wonderland views would not be possible without millions of snowflakes that each have their own unique makeup. Meteorologist Leah Pizzetti looks at how they form.
We know snow forms when you have moisture at freezing temperatures, but let's go beyond that. Within every snowball, you have snowflakes, and these are tiny, tiny, fascinating specimens. Take a closer look at the snow falling around you. Individual snowflakes reveal a clear shape created in special circumstances.
To get the growth of a snowflake, you need to have nucleation.
That's a fancy way of saying it's crystal formation, says Northwest Avalanche Center meteorologist Robert Hahn. Snowflakes form when water droplets attach to particles in the sky, like dust or pollen, creating a six-sided shape. They then fall, dropping through different types of air, giving them each a unique appearance.
No two snowflakes have the exact same journey through the various temperature and pressure regimes.
For that reason, no two snowflakes look the same, just like a thumbprint. The atmosphere they fall through changes the shape they become.
Is it forming lengthy hexagonal columns, or is it forming more flattened plates?
Warmer temperatures tend to lead to longer shapes, like a needle. Colder temperatures create flat, plate-like snowflakes. Robert says the type of snowflake can even impact avalanche risk. If the snowflakes are too cold and fall too fast, they don't bond together quickly enough, creating a weak layer of snow, and that is one of the factors that can lead to an avalanche. So the next time you see snow fall, take a closer look. See if you can make out the 6 sides of a tiny crystal and know that the snowflake you're holding is unlike any other out there. For Environment Northwest, I'm meteorologist Leah Pizzetti.
When a snowstorm hits your neighborhood, we'd love to see your pictures and hear how much snow you got. So let's go over how to measure snowfall. First of all, pick a flat surface like a picnic table or a deck. Make sure you aren't picking a place that's sheltered by trees or structures or a spot where snow drifts. That'll mess up your measurements. Stick a ruler or a yardstick into the snow so it's perpendicular to the ground. We measure snow to the closest tenth of an inch. Finally, send us your measurements. You can text us at 206-448-4545. Conventional wisdom may tell you that you need to warm up your car before hitting the road. Our Verify team takes a closer look at that claim and if it actually could be harming your vehicle. Seattle isn't known for getting a lot of snow, but when a storm arrives, it can paralyze the city. We show you how SDOT is getting ready to respond. With the storm season now upon us, work is underway to help keep the lights on for businesses and homeowners. And Puget Sound Energy is making important upgrades to its infrastructure in one particularly vulnerable community. North Bureau Chief Eric Wilkinson reports from Skagit County.
Fresh brewed coffee powers customers at Concrete's Lone Star restaurant, but there is no power at all when the electricity is out.
Oh, it's extremely frustrating. You know, it's a loss of revenue, which we can't afford.
Owner Kerry Constantine says the tiny Skagit County town sees power outages 4 or 5 times a year, sometimes for days on end.
When we don't have power, that means all of our refrigeration is off. It means all of our freezers are off, and health department's coming up here and asking what our plan is to save the food.
The good news, Puget Sound Energy will soon be moving 30 miles of electrical line underground. That will eliminate power poles being taken down by trees and wind during storms. The project will run along Highway 20 from Concrete to Marble Mount, an area that tends to be hit harder by storms and is susceptible to wildfires.
Increasing reliability, keeping the lights on in this community.
This program is designed to do more than just keep the lights on. Monitors attached to existing power poles all across Skagit County will help defend against wildfires and other natural disasters.
Thanks in part to a $46 million federal grant, PSE will be installing solar-powered sensors and cameras that use artificial intelligence to detect everything from earthquakes to wildfire smoke threatening the power supply. Equipment upgrades at Baker Dam will bring hydropower directly to customers all across Skagit County if power lines are down. PSE says the result will be fewer and shorter power outages throughout Skagit County.
We anticipate a huge transformation, direct reduction in number of outages experienced for our customers.
Okay.
That can't come soon enough at the Lone Star, but the majority of the project isn't expected to be complete until 2029. Still, it's something folks here believe is worth waiting for.
We need every break we can get right now.
In Concrete, Eric Wilkinson, King 5 News.
The city of Seattle is gearing up for potential storms. Before winter, plow drivers with the Seattle Department of Transportation do a dry run, driving the routes to get familiar with the trucks and be aware of changes like speed bumps or traffic signals. The city has more than 50 snow response vehicles, including plows, de-icing trucks, and salt spreaders.
Public safety and keeping transit moving are our top priorities. So we focus on our resources to keep over 1,000 miles of the city's most critical streets accessible. So these essential routes are chosen because they're used by the greatest number of people, as well as emergency services and buses.
The city has a map of gold routes where they try to get all travel lanes clear of snow and ice. There are also emerald routes where the goal is to get one travel lane clear. Now, we could have some pretty chilly mornings this winter, and you may be tempted to let your car get warm and toasty before you head out on your commute. As temperatures dip, Brandon Lewis from our National Verify team looks into whether excessive idling could eventually damage your car's engine.
No one enjoys getting into an ice-cold car or starting their commute with a frosted windshield. So many people start their car and leave it idling to warm up the inside and melt off any ice, while others do it because they've heard it's better for the engine to let it warm up. One Verify viewer asked us whether this practice could actually do more harm than good. So let's verify. Our sources are the U.S. Department of Energy, the Utah Department of Environmental Quality, Firestone Complete Auto Care, Smart Motors Toyota, Napa Auto Parts, and William Northrop, a professor of mechanical engineering at the University of Minnesota. All of our sources agree that when it's cold outside, the best practice for cars built after the 1980s is to run your engine for around 30 seconds before driving off. This is the most fuel-efficient strategy, and it's the best for the long-term health of your engine. In practice, though, we've all experienced those extra cold mornings with snow piled high on the roof and stubborn ice on the windshield. Firestone suggests your cold day driving routine should look something like this. Bundle up, start the car, scrape the ice off the windows and mirrors, get in the car, and get going. However, if you routinely leave your car idling for extended periods of time, then the Utah Department of Environmental Quality warns you can damage the cylinders, spark plugs, and exhaust systems. Not to mention, it'll cost you more in gas. So, yes, excessive idling to warm up your car before driving can do more harm than good. If you remember needing to warm up cars in the past, that was the case before the 1980s, when cars used carburetors to regulate the amount of air and fuel in the engine. Back then, if you didn't warm up the engine before driving off, the car could stall out. Modern engines use electronic fuel injection systems, which don't need to be warmed up in cold weather. With your Verify, I'm Brandon Lewis.
So what can you do to beat the cold this winter? Our First Alert weather team shows you hacks to make it through.
Space heaters are extremely helpful in the colder months, but they could also pose a major fire risk. When you're setting up your space heater, make sure there's 3 feet of clear space around it. No carpets, no curtains, no combustible items. Also, make sure they're plugged directly into an outlet.
In the wintertime, set your ceiling fans to clockwise. This creates an updraft that keeps heat circulating around the room and can lower your energy bills.
Well, sometimes it gets a little icy around Western Washington, and you may want to melt off the snow and ice from your sidewalks. Well, you're going to use some rock salt on that. The problem is you get a big bag of rock salt. You don't normally use it all in one winter, so you want to store it, but sometimes it will kind of get stuck together. So if you put it, I found, into a nice bucket that has a lid so you can seal it off, you can keep that salt for 2 or 3 years, and sometimes you even use it all up.
All right, a quick little tidbit. If you are trying to keep your homes warm, it's going to be a good idea for you to open up those blinds during the day. Let some of that sunlight in, heat up your home so that your heater's not having to do all that extra work.
The big dark is upon us. Now, if you feel gloomy in winter, well, you're not alone. We share tips to help you get through it. Winter can be a great time to experience celestial events, and there's one sky watching opportunity you won't want to miss. January is the best time in over 2 years to witness this sight. You may have noticed some spectacular sunsets recently, and the many pleasant evenings are not a coincidence. It's actually science. King 5 meteorologist Leah Pizzetti shows us how the perfect conditions can make for a breathtaking sunset.
There's almost a perfect recipe to get this gorgeous sunset, and that recipe can happen right about now. Let's start with the time of year. Winter can bring some of the best sunsets because of the cold temperatures. Cold air tends to be less humid, and moisture dulls it out, so the crisp, dry winter air keeps colors vibrant. Clean air is also key because it helps create brighter colors. If you have too many particulates in the air, sunsets can be duller because colors get washed out. For example, something like particles from wildfire smoke can make skies hazy and muted. Then, after a nice rainstorm, that dirty air gets cleared out and colors shine. Another ingredient, sunlight. In the winter, the Earth's tilt helps sunsets actually last longer. This time of year, sunlight, which makes up the colors of the rainbow, has more atmosphere to pass through as the sun goes down. As the sun sets, the blues and greens from that rainbow scatter more easily, giving the reds and oranges a long runway to dominate the sky. And a final cherry on top of a gorgeous day, clouds. While a clear sky can still make a pleasant sunset, throw in a few clouds and they can help reflect the bright colors and make the sunset more vibrant. But if the clouds are too low, they can block the sunset, so mid to upper level clouds, usually cirrus or altocumulus, are best. That's it. Cold, clean air, some well-traveled red and orange sunlight, the perfect kind of clouds, and you have the perfect sunset. So check the forecast. If you see that on the horizon, head for the hills, sit back, and enjoy the view. For King 5 News, I'm meteorologist Leah Pizzetti.
Along with pretty sunsets in winter, we also get a lot more hours of nighttime. At the winter solstice in December, Seattle has just 8 hours and 25 minutes of daylight. It's caused Seattleites to call this stretch of time the Big Dark. King 5 meteorologist Ashley Ruiz has more.
'Tis the season for the Big Dark. We associate winter with cold temperatures and very long nights, but why is it so severe in Washington? Well, the changing seasons are the reason why, but it also has to do with our high latitude. The closer you are to the Arctic Circle, the less daylight there is in the winter due to Earth's tilt away from the sun. The winter solstice, which is the longest night of the year, we only get about 8 hours of daylight. After the solstice, our days start to get longer. As we transition from winter to summer, Earth begins its tilt toward the sun. By the spring equinox, we gain nearly 4 hours of daylight. We gain the most daylight leading up to the spring equinox and in the days after. We get over 3 more minutes of daylight each day. The payback of the big dark is the summer when our daylight almost doubles. And by the time the summer solstice rolls around, we have nearly 16 hours of daylight. I'm King 5 meteorologist Ashley Ruiz.
The big dark can be hard on your mental and physical health. Doctors with UW Medicine say it's not unusual to feel tired and less motivated in winter, and that likely has to do with disruptions to your circadian rhythm with all that extra darkness. Here are some tips to get you through the worst of it until spring arrives. Exercise outside or in a bright room. Doctors say sticking to a routine will boost your mood, and natural daylight, even if it's cloudy, is better for your brain. Maintain a sleep routine. This means going to sleep and getting up at the same time, keeping your bedroom cool and dark, and avoiding blue light near bedtime. Brighten your home and routine. Decluttering or decorating a room can make you feel better in your space, and finding an activity that you love that you can do in the winter can help give you purpose. You should also try light therapy. Several UW researchers designed a light that alternates blue and orange wavelengths, emulating a sunrise. The idea is sitting in front of one in the morning helps cue our biological clocks to wake up.
If you want to make sure your clock set is right, a really good way would be to go up and see the sunrise every morning. But here in Seattle, for many reasons, it's not possible.
The light is available through the Chicago-based company Tuo. As you're battling the big dark, another bright spot to look forward to are celestial events. There will be several notable sky-watching events to mark on your calendars this winter. First up, the quadrantid meteor shower, which peaks January 4th. NASA says this is one of the best meteor showers of the year, with about 120 meteors per hour at its peak. You also have the opportunity for planet viewing this winter. Mars will be on opposition on January 16th, which is when the Earth is directly between the Mars and the sun. When weather hits this winter, stay with King 5's First Alert Weather Team for the most accurate, up-to-date forecasts. Thanks for joining us. I hope you have a safe and fun winter.